Middleton's Extravaganza on the BBC in the Midlands.
My next guest used to be I should say up there in the top three of my favourite band's leaders of the era. He was flamboyant. Well, he still is. He has some great songs. Let me tell you something. He's been in the business more than 35 years with 10 top 10 singles, and 3 of them reached number 1. It's my pleasure to introduce to our show the one, the only, Mr. Adamant. Hello.
Hello, Keith. How are you, mate?
I'm very well. It's an honour to get you on the programme.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure. That's very kind of you.
Okay, no problem. And can I say, it's great to have you back.
Oh, it's nice to be back, actually. I've missed it a lot. It's been a long time. 15 years is a long time to wait.
It is. I remember you as the flamboyant... That's the right word to say, isn't it?
I think so.
Extremely flamboyant. Let me talk about a bit of history, because some great tunes I want to talk about as well. The image. Whose idea was the image? Because you got the white stripe across the nose and all the suit, the regalia. It's fantastic. Where did that come from?
Well, it's based on my favourite film. One of my favourite films is a film called Charge of the Light Brigade that was made in 1969 by a guy called Tony Richardson, who was Vanessa Redgrave's husband. And he made this film about really the glorious disaster of the last terrible charge that took place in the Crimean War, where the Light Brigade locked out. But anyway, I went to a friend of mine who worked at Burmans and Nathan, my mate Dave, and it happened that the lead actor in that, David Hemmings, who played the part of Captain Nolan in the film, led the charge, but he's exactly the same size as me, so I got the jacket, and I put that together with a bit of sort of Native American Indian philosophy and makeup, which I'd been experimenting with anyway, and then the kabuki look that I've been doing since like 77, and Bob's Your Uncle. I went on top of the pops, and that was the end of it, or the start of it, as it were.
Fantastic, yeah. I mean, because other bands, they just go on and do the songs and go off again, but, I mean, the flamboyance of it really worked, didn't it?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'd been doing, clubs, and I think people don't realise that the guy with the stripe across his nose had done like 250 gigs right across England, Europe, punk rock, hardcore punk rock gig, post-punk, what they call it now, gigs.
Right, yeah.
And it was crafted during that time, and it's very hardcore, and that was where I got my education. It's a bit like a sort of stand-up comedian, you go and play these little clubs everywhere.
Yeah.
And it was like all I heard was no. I made an independent album called Dirk Wears White Socks, which, didn't sell at the time.
Yeah.
And stuck with it. But, at the end of the day, I bumped into Malcolm McLaren, who proceeded to give me an education in how to sort of change that and turn that into something that, DJs would play and that people could understand and use what I had, which, as he said, muscles and looks.
Yeah.
And it went colourful, because right up to then it was very grey, it got very doomy and grey, and a lot of drugs were involved at that time, lots of people, it was awful. So then I just made a lot of colour, and people went out and they kind of needed it. So I did it. It worked.
You at the time as well, you're an established actor. We've seen you in TV and films, etc. Was the theatrical part of you coming out then?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've got a theory that all actors want to be singers and vice versa, really, down the line, because obviously both of them have to go on and create another world for an audience. Audience pay their money. They want to escape. It doesn't matter if it's a film, play, whatever, a gig. They just want some entertainment. That's what they want. And that's my job to give it to them. So, that was there. And by the time I did get the chance to take a break from Adam and the Ants, which was around about 83... 84, I did a Joe Alton play in Manchester Royal Exchange Theatre, which was a bit crazy because it's probably the most scary theatre, even for actors to do. But I did it, and Manchester was a really nice place to do it, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. And then I did some work in America with Edward Woodward and various people, Harry Dean Stanton, Dennis Hopper, and just kept working, and went out to America eventually and did enrolled in a class and studied it. But it's my first love's music, obviously, because that's what you're given one gift, and I suppose I should embrace it.
get no diddly quack-quas in this day and age, do you? Diddly quack-qua. Brilliant. Adam and the Ants. More from Adamant in just a sec. The other day I had a chat with Adamant. You may have seen him on the TV. He's been floating around various programmes. And he's had a style change. Well, when I spoke to him, he spoke to me frankly and openly about his problems. We started off by talking about his parents.
Well, my dad, my mum's still alive.
Yeah.
And my dad passed away about 15 years ago.
Okay.
But they were both working people. My dad was a chauffeur, my mum was a cleaner, and she used to work for Norman Hart and was an embroiderer since she was a teenager.
Right.
She actually embroidered the left-hand sleeve of Queen Elizabeth II's wedding dress.
Really?
People know that, yeah. But my dad was quite a big reader, and he introduced me to kind of history, took me to museums on the one day he had off a week, and, he encouraged me. I made model aeroplanes and stuff like that, like what Dad should try and do. And I find in myself now, he taught me about motorcycles and bikes and cars, and I never had any interest at that time, but I'm finding now I do.
Right.
So it sort of comes full circle, but, your parents, my mum didn't really understand it till I went on top of the pops. My dad was quite supportive. He just said, you're nuts, do what you want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And your grandparents, is that right that your granddad was a proper full Romany?
Yeah, he was a smith, an English Romany smith, born in a caravan in Oxford in 1898. And he joined the army, and he got taken out by his mum because he was underage, and then he joined the Navy, and he fought in World War I at the Battle of Jutland, which was the last great sea battle, and then he joined the submarines.
Yeah.
So he was a tough cookie, and he brought up his family as he drove first off horse and carts, and then the first lorries, and he ended up working right the way through till he retired. He brought up his family. He was a very solid man. He's my hero. I've got him tattooed on my left arm now.
Brilliant, yeah.
Walter Albany Smith, I adore him.
And do you find that throughout your life, your granddad, the influence of your granddad comes back and helps you from time to time?
Yeah, he does. My granddad was a man of few words, but when he did say something, it was kind of very stripped down, and he'd obviously had those things said to him. Like, he said things like, when I was really tiny, he was a boxer, he was a fleet champion, and he put his fist out. He said, if you ever hit a woman, I'll hit you. And if you ever see a man hit a woman, hit him.
Right. And
he said, God always pays debts without money. And I'm finding those two things are coming back every day, really. I find those things as very strong principles in my life. He said a very simple way of doing it, and he worked very, very hard. He got up at dawn. I get up at dawn now, I find, because it's like it's no phones and stuff.
Yeah. Were you a popular child at school?
Yeah, I did a lot of sport, to be honest with you. When I was a kid, all I can remember is playing football, rugby, cross-country, gymnastics, out all the time. I hardly ever went home, at night I'd go home and do. But then all my mates went to secondary school. They went to the secondary modern. I went to grammar school. So they were downstairs listening to Tamala Motown records in the club, and I was upstairs doing Latin and Greek.
Right.
But I heard the music through the window, so all that went in every night. But it was, I had a bunch of mates, but I went to quite a tough school. It was sort of like Tom Brown school days,
I got it, yeah. Yeah.
It was a bit tough, but it was all right.
Reading up on your biography, Adam, there's a part here that says you developed anorexia.
Yeah.
You wasn't trying to slim, you were trying to kill yourself. Is that right?
Oh, no, I don't know about that. The whole mental health issue is obviously very prevalent in my life because I've suffered with it. But it's hardly surprising. I got married very, very young.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for that. And I was really under a hell of a lot of sort of work pressure, like, doing degrees and stuff like that, and having to do jobs around to support that. And I suppose I'm quite a sensitive person in that, and I'm a person who likes to get the job done. And the only way my parents could lift me out of the, the gutter, as it were, is by education. So to me, I put far too much emphasis myself on passing exams, which I think exams are worthless. I don't think they prove anything at all. It should be continual assessment. And but in them days, it was tough. So I put this enormous pressure on myself. Then I was married and all the rest of it, and I just, one night just took a load of pills. I don't know what they were. I think they were my mother-in-law's. I don't know what, breast enhancement pill. I don't know what they were. I just woke up in a hospital, but that was the start of a situation where because if you attempt suicide, you're breaking the law. I don't think people actually realise that. You actually are breaking the law.
Yeah.
And at that time, they let me out because you could let yourself out because they were going to give me electric shock treatment. And I saw a big cockroach crawl across my stomach, and I said, I'm not having this, and went out. And they just didn't really mind then. Nowadays, they give you antidepressants, which I feel are a very good thing for short term, for an emergency crisis, but I think they are given to you and prescribed far too often for things that really could be sorted out by talking to a friend, family, walking the dog over in a tree, because it's just work. It's just work. You all rest, no play. So really, I think the main thing about mental illness is to realise that you're an individual person. Every single person's got a different cause and reason for feeling that way.
Yeah.
And it can be losing your job. It can be, coming back from the war, having an injury. It can be, falling out with your girlfriend, not passing the exam. And then you go out of your routine. You go out of kilter. People notice. Then you start hiding. Then you stop sleeping. When you stop sleeping, you're in trouble because the brain changes. And I'm very. I read everything about mental health I can.
Yeah.
And I feel that it's going. My ambition at this point is to get involved with a charity called Research Mental Health, which is trying to look inside the brain, because mental health is an illness. It's not a curse. It's not, it's something that I believe is curable, such as AIDS and cancer one day. I think the trouble is the brain is so complicated that we know nothing about it, really. And so money has to be found to do that. So hopefully in the future, mental health will be something that can be not such a taboo. Not it's the worst taboo you can have.
A neural family of nobility. We are the family. A neural family of nobility. We are the family. A neural family of nobility. We are the family.
Adamant, we are family. An email came in at just before 10 o'clock from Gary in the Black Country. He said, "Air up, and air up, Keith and Sexy Sue. Glad to have you back, Keith. Is the answer to your question? All the footy teams have the supporters, which included prime ministers like Tony Blair for Newcastle and David Cameron for the Villa. No. I'll give you the answer to the Connections challenge in about 20 minutes' time. Hi to Di Henderson, listening in New Zealand. G'day, New Zealand. Hope you enjoyed the show. Adamant in conversation with my good self last week. And we got really serious now. In 2003, Adam was sectioned under the Mental Health Act. I asked him to recall his memories.
Yeah, 2003, an incident happened when there was a threat to my daughter made to my daughter, and I took the law into my own hands, which was the wrong thing to do. I paid the price. I was encouraged to not really say what had happened. I more or less had to plead guilty and was charged under the Insanity Act and sectioned, which is a very scary thing to happen to you in this country. Being sectioned is a terrible thing to happen, and it can happen to you quite easily, too easily actually. So that's something that I believe that the 1983 Mental Health Act has to be reformed at some point, and I'm trying to have an open discussion on television with the powers that be, hopefully with someone like David Dimbleby refereeing, to just, sort this out, because obviously I get a lot of people, every interview I get asked about it, and a lot of young people come up to me and say, Adam, I read your book, and it really helped me through a particular time.
Yeah.
And, I'm a pretty stand-up guy about it. If I'm a musician, I play rock and roll, but if someone asks me a question, I'll answer them. And if it helps them, good. But, I have a very strong opinion.
When you were sectioned in 2003, do you think you were treated fair?
For what I did, that's breaking the law. It was a very irresponsible thing to do. But the frame of mind I was in was a thing called hypomania. Now, when you have hypomania, it's beyond. You're actually, Billy. You actually don't know what's going on. You're actually living in a film. That's not excusing what I did, but I was, got a call. I'd never broken the law before that. I broke the law. That was it. But it happened to me recently, again, for no reason at all, which I can't discuss because there's a complication about that. But that has caused me to actually address the situation of how easy it is. Because people don't realise it's breaking the law when you attempt suicide. They have no idea. So if someone goes to a party, someone drops something in their drink, they go to hospital, have their stomach pumped, they think you've tried to commit suicide. So you have a criminal record as of that point. And people have to know these things, and they don't. They also don't know how strong antidepressants are and what they do to your brain. They are very serious drugs, and they have to be monitored very carefully by your GP, and your GP doesn't have a lot of time to do it.
Are you in a state now where you're talking very openly and very frank about your past? Mm-hmm. Are you in a state now, and you are, if you like, trying not to fall back, if you like, trying not to fall off the tightrope?
Life's a tightrope. You've got to take, in rock and roll, to be involved in rock and roll, Billy, don't do that. So my dog's trying to eat my plant. You can't get, you have to take a risk in life, because you can win or if you lose, but you learn if you lose. Yeah. Being in rock and roll or any performance art, you're put on a pedestal, and the price you pay is you have no privacy. That goes with the territory, but you become quite enclosed. Yeah. But anybody getting involved in rock and roll, good rock and roll, has to have a certain amount of insanity to actually go on stage and do those things. I'm talking about Johnny Cash, Little Richard, all the greats, Jerry Lee Lewis, the Bonzo Dog Doodah Band, or Love, all manner of things. I mean, anybody dressing up like that, they think you're nuts. T-Rex, my mum thought they was nuts, Yeah. There was a certain amount of craziness about the Sex Pistols. The things they were doing were crazy, but you have to have that. It's a subversive art, sexual sex, subversion style and humour. Those things, you need the up and down. You need the dark and light to write a good song. And bipolar, the definition of bipolar is up and down. It just means up and down, light and shade. Right. And antidepressants try and put them in the middle, so everything's in the middle ground, which for a writer is disastrous, absolutely disastrous. And most of the creative people in history have been collared with this bipolar. Kurt Cobain, Winston Churchill, Jackson Pollock, everybody, you name them, anybody any good has got it, has had it. But I'm not so concerned about people on the pedestal, more concerned about people, regular people that, go to work and don't say anything about it. Yeah. And they're given antidepressants as a solution. And they're not a solution. They're a solution to it in a short term. Long term, it needs a lot of care.
Doing all the movements now. Yep. I'm doing, yep. BBC in the Midlands, it's the extravaganza in conversation with Mr. Adamant. I had a chat to Adam not so long ago. And we started round the interview off by talking about kids, because having kids is a big leveller in anyone's life. And I asked what effect did the responsibility have on him?
I think I was a little boy till I had my daughter, then I became a man. There's your answer, really. Yeah. I think children have got a responsibility. When you have a child, that's not something you fit into a career. That is a career. And I took 5 years off to look after my daughter, which is, in most people's opinion, the music business, everyone's saying that's suicidal. Well, I don't care. She's probably the most marvellous, creation in my whole life, and that's a priority. And I think as far as music's concerned, I just make the best record I can make. I've got no apologies about the music. It's the best I can do. The new album's coming out in January, and I'm really looking forward. I'm really proud of it, and I'm writing the one after now. So it's just consistency. You've got to keep doing it and not apologise and not jump on any bandwagons, which I didn't do. But it's just the last 15 years been nothing in music that's really rocked my boat, to be honest.
Do you find it was a big decision to come back?
Yeah, but I've got a great band behind me. You know, the Good, the Mad and the Lovely posse. They're good, I'm mad and they're lovely. You know, 6 piece, 3 guys, 3 girls, really give it everything. And, you know, we just play all the repertoire, all my stuff. We don't do medleys, we don't mess about with the songs. Everybody dresses up in their own way, and we just deliver. And we're going to be playing 1 or 2 tracks off the new album, but the bulk of the set for right now, 15 years is a long time. To not play your songs, then we're going to play
it. It is, yeah. Where did you get the title? Because that's fantastic. You're coming to the Wolfram Hall in Wolverhampton on Friday the 9th of December.
Yeah.
Adamant and the Good, the Mad and the Lovely posse. Where did that come from?
Well, it's a bit like a spaghetti western, really. It's like coming out of the, you know, all the Magnificent Seven. Well, it is actually 7. Sort of coming out of the sort of mist to sort of even the score.
Yeah.
And it's great because I've got, you know, a gold drummer called Yolo, who's fantastic. Andy on the drums, Tom on guitar. 2 girls got Georgie Girl and Twinkle, and Matt on bass. And they're really like a sort of team. They're great. You know, we really. I recently played Hyde Park with Rod Stewart to 40,000 people, and I watched the film the other day. I screened the film, and I couldn't believe how good they were. I mean, I was sort of watching this. I never watched myself, but I was really impressed with the band. They were fantastic.
Well, we look forward to you coming to Wolverhampton. Once again, it's the Adamant and the Good, the Mad and the Lovely posse, the Wolverhampton Wolfram Hall on Friday the 9th of December. Can I thank you for being so frank?
That's my pleasure.
And Adamant, it's been lovely to talk to you.
You take care. Thank you.
I can see you singing that. I can see you. I can see you. Don't think I can't. Well, there you have it. And Adam and the Ant being frank.
Keith Middleton's Extravaganza on the BBC in the Midlands.